2024 is unlocking some epic codes, and this is what you need to know about it. And maybe you already started to feel some of these codes. You feel a new chapter, your new energy, your new era, a new vibe, a new way of being, a new way of thinking. You're doing things a different way. Your intuition is guiding you in a different way, and you haven't really been able to pinpoint what it is, and that's because these codes are already starting to activate. And a couple of weeks ago, I came here and gave you a 2024 energy forecast, which I highly recommend that you listen to. And it basically walks you through how the energies of the past years has informed the thing that we're going to experience next year. But I really wanted to touch base on the codes, the very specific codes that are activating for you, not just through the next year, but already has started in the last few months as well. So basically, codes stand for things that are downloading through you, okay? So sometimes we can call it the channel, we can call it downloads, we can call it intuition, we call it inner knowing, we call it a different era, we call it a guidance. There's so many different ways to refer to it, but essentially a code is something that feels so strong within you that it has to be expressed. And the difference is that you're always receiving codes. There's some codes at all time. You're always receiving, you're always downloading, etc., etc. That is true, but it's major and more epic in 2024 because you are being asked to be fast about it. You just don't have time to waste and time to think about like, should I activate this or should I do this or should I do that? And you're gonna start to notice that things are happening incredibly fast. Like the second you think it just appears here. And the second you say that, it just like happened here. Or there's that coincidence that just lined up because you were just talking about it to your friend and then you were just thinking that, or you like something somewhere in the quantum realm, in the ether, heard what you were saying in your head and it just manifested in a tangible reality right in front of you, right? And just a disclaimer that anytime me and you are talking about astrology, energy forecasts, or anything esoteric, I want you to understand how to take it practically. How is it that you can actually apply this information in your real life in a way that is helpful and useful to you? So not just leaving like, oh, these are all the energies. It's like, okay, these are all the energies, but how is it that you can channel and transmute that energy in a way that's going to be supportive for you in all the things that you're doing and building too? So the thing about these codes is that you're going to have to make some really fast decisions. And you start to notice like, yeah, this identity that I've held of myself, I feel like it's changing and it's changing really fast and I don't have time to explain it. And I don't have time to, like verbalize it, or I don't want to verbalize it, or I don't want to justify it. And I just want to be it. I just want to do it. I just want to appear here. And there's this energy of quantum jumping, quantum leaping, quantum shifting over and over again and very quickly as you're experiencing these codes being downloaded. And especially if you are in the northern hemisphere where you are experiencing winter, you probably just experienced winter solstice. This is a time where you're very much more connected to the ether element than in any other season. So yes, it is a hibernation season, but it is also the season of the ether. It is a season where you're channeling, you're downloading, you're receiving, and it's meant for you to actually apply in a way that's going to be valuable for you in your life. So a lot of us feel really overwhelmed when we receive codes, right? We think like, what am I supposed to do with this? Or I got this idea, I don't know how to do it. Or like, what the heck is, like, I don't know how to implement this. I need more information. I need more knowledge. I don't feel like I'm good enough to do it. Or I don't feel like there's all of these stories that are true and available for you to subscribe to, but in this epic energy, and I keep saying the word epic because it truly is epic, because you really just don't have any choice around whether or not you're going to apply these codes. And it's going to start to really, really hinder your life. And you see the more that you fight against this knowing that you have that like, oh, I need to act upon this, the harder it's going to be for you to make things happen in your life because you're fighting against what is being downloaded and what is being channeled through you. And in the past, that is true too. Like sometimes when you go against your intuition and you go against the things that you know, sometimes, yes, it bites you in the butt, but in this year, as you're coming into this energetic field, this energetic flow, especially in the next, I'm going to say 3 months, it's going to be important for you to lean in to the things that you actually wish for. And so don't say something that you cannot receive. Okay? So don't say you want it because it's going to show up. And don't think a thing because it's going to manifest. And don't like put that fear in your heart because it's going to add and feed into the self-doubt. It's going to feed into the people pleasing. It's going to feed into perfectionism. And And so your responsibility here is to let go, is to open your heart, is to say like, what is this new chapter that is starting to show up for me? What is this new vibration? Am I going to be able to meet myself into this vibration, or am I going to run away from it? Am I going to make myself scared? Am I going to tell myself a story that me 2 years ago, me 5 years ago, me 10 years ago would have believed? But is this my thought process right now? And am I getting in the way of the things that I really would love to have in my life, but I'm kind of self-sabotaging it by the way that I'm thinking, by the way that I'm behaving, by the way I'm talking, by the way I'm showing up, by the way that I'm internally holding and harnessing emotions that aren't necessarily matching the codes that are being available to me, that are being made available to me. So now here's where you step back and you say, let me take a deep breath, right? And let me see, are there things that have been showing up to me that maybe I don't know what to do with? I don't actually know what to do with this like friend that I made, but this friend makes me feel like I'm expanding, they're opening up my mind in a different way, or I feel like my horizons are getting bigger, or they're changing my perspective. I don't really know what to do with it, and that's okay if you don't know, like in this moment in time, like what the heck to do with this friend. But explore that a little bit deeper, and also explore your own triggers of being with that friend, right? Like, is this person showing you something about yourself? Is this mirroring something that you need to go and heal a little bit deeper or explore a little bit deeper? Is this person expanding your mind of like what is possible because they're a certain way and you're like, oh my gosh, why isn't that possible for me? And you're like, oh, it is possible for me, in a different way. And there's so many different expansive experiences that it's going to start just showing up on your plate. But if you don't make an effort to exploring those pathways, if you don't make an effort into getting to know those people, in getting to explore those opportunities, in getting to go down a little bit, to the next level of those ideas or thoughts or whatever it is, if you don't make an effort, then don't be surprised if you find yourself exactly in the same position next year. Just don't be surprised, because effort takes effort, right? Like, effort is annoying because it requires you to get over yourself, to put in a little bit of oomph and a little bit of, elbow grease, and it asks your ego to shut up, right? Effort asks your ego to shut up. And what that means is that we're going to say, I already have everything. And then low key inside, you feel like, well, I wish I was exploring this creative part of me, or I wish I was doing this other thing, or maybe I don't know what I wish for, but I just know that this isn't it, and that is so human of you. It doesn't mean that you're unhappy. Wanting change or wanting to be able to, explore or expand in any kind of way doesn't mean that you're an unhappy person. It just means that you're wanting a different part of your brain to be itched, right? A different piece of your human experience to be explored. And that's just the beauty of being a person. You're multidimensional, you're multifaceted, you're multi-interested, right? Like, it would be so boring if you just knew about one thing, like, oh, okay, cool, like you're an expert in that, but it's like, can we talk about anything else? Like, do you know about anything else? Do you care about anything else? So that's the energy that we're getting into. And these codes are saying, like, there's parts of you that are unexplored, right? There's and for all of us, like, no, none of us is like fully explored in that way, but all of us have this thing that's like, okay, I wonder if I, like, what if I took a class this way, or what if I did this other thing, or what if I had a different group of friends that I'm not actually like used to, and is that going to allow me to see something in a different way that I'm not really able to see when I'm only in my little comfort zone? Yeah. So the codes are epic because it's gonna push you out of your comfort zone. You're not gonna be like, let me dip my toes in the water and see. It's gonna just push you into that. Your responsibility will be to say, do I sink or swim? Like, you either lean in and you lean in fully, or you just get out. Okay. And if you get out, then you don't get to complain that you're in the same spot next year, that you had the same issues next year, that you didn't get to this thing or that thing next year, or bah, 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 right? Because yes, life, there's circumstances, there's many things that are sometimes against us, but also you have self-responsibility. And the thing about codes is that you're downloading something that is so unique to you. I cannot manifest your code to me, right? Like, your code is your code, and that is meant to be downloaded, channeled, transmuted, and expressed in the way that is going to be unique and useful through you, not through me, not through anybody else, through you. And so that takes a little bit of inner work, you know? Expressing codes is inner work. So when you see somebody, especially, you know, online or on the internet, digital media and social media and all this stuff, when you see somebody and you're like, wow, they're just like that, or wow, oh my gosh, like that, and you feel whatever you feel about it, impressed, envious, jealous, happy, inspired, whatever the gamut of emotions or feelings that you have around that, you are also able to have that for yourself too. You're also able to be impressive. You're also able to be inspiring. You're also able to, you know, really make yourself proud and surprise yourself in many different ways. And the more that we attach ourselves to one identity, right? Well, who it is that you were in 8th grade, is that who you still are today? No, you're not, because like you had to give yourself opportunities to change. And who it is that you are in your late 20s is not who it is that you are in your mid 30s, in your mid 40s, in your mid, right? And it's not really age based. I'm just using that as an anchor, because sometimes age is like a great way to be like, oh, you're not the same as you were, you know, when you were 20. Like that's a great anchor. But you might just even think about like, I'm just not the same as I was last year. I just am not, you know, and like I'm just not the same as I was 5 years ago. I just am not. And it's okay to say goodbye to some of those identities. And when you say goodbye to an identity, it's not from a place of I fucking hate myself, or I hate this about me, or I hate that person, that girl was so stupid, blah, 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 blah. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about having a negative relationship with the way that you dialogue with yourself. We're saying like, wow, that was cute, but it's just not what is here, you know? And so let me look and see like what is here, and am I going to be able to embrace that and embody that and meet that to what is available for me, or am I going to just continuously hold myself to somebody I was in the past or who I want to be in the future? Right? What about me in this present moment? Because the present moment, and that's why these codes are so epic, is that it's asking you to stop worrying about these things, right? Future projection, manifestation, all of that kind of stuff is like over here. And then thinking about your past, doing your inner child work and your healing work is over there. We're saying, cool story, bro. But what about me right now? What is the vibe? What is the energy? What is the embodiment of myself? The work that I've done, the healing work, the shadow work, you know, all the crying and you know, the boundary setting and the self-love and all these tools that I learned. Like, how does that actually apply to me in this iteration of who it is that I am? And what does that change about me? Does this change the way that I look at myself? Does this change the way that I dress myself? Does this change the way that I speak, the tone of my voice or my presentation, or who I'm hanging out with, or what I'm doing when I'm hanging out, or what, right? Like there's so many different variations of that to consider. And that's not to make it overwhelming, be like, oh, you have to think about all these things. It's to say like, did anything change? You know what I mean? Like, do you need to make some changes? And it doesn't have to be this like ceremonious breakup of like, I don't do that anymore, that's just not me. It's like, okay, because maybe you circle back around to that. You know, that's a possibility. And you're just like, you know what? There was actually nothing wrong with that. And I see it in a different way. So I'm going to circle back to it. And you do. So there's no shame or guilt around it. But what your present needs, what your present moment needs, and what your present moment is asking you, especially in this next 3-month circle, is to be very intentional about these codes that are being released. Okay. So these codes are going to channel, and they're going to ask to be expressed. They're going to channel. They're going to be asked to be expressed. So one big thing that I ask you to do during, you know, ether and quantum time, especially in the winter time, is that everything that downloads, write it down. You know, you don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know what it's going to look like at the end or what it's going to feel like at the end. You really just don't need that. That's the excitement of life, where you get to experience, you get to be surprised, for better or for worse, right? Like, and you get to do all these different things. And in the meantime, when you're collecting your ideas, you're collecting your expression, you're going to start to see that some of these things just keep calling to you. They just keep calling to you. They're like, you know, another year I didn't get to do this, another year you didn't get to do that, another year you didn't get to do that. And that's part of your self-exploration. That's part of your self-discovery. That's the part where you separate yourself from people who think that they can think themselves into their future, and somebody who knows how to be here in the present moment, to embody all the different emotions, the ideas, the thoughts, and say, okay, even if that feels overwhelming because I don't really know the answer and I don't know if it's gonna work out for me, even if those things are true, how is it that I'm gonna be able to swindle myself into exploring these things in a way that feels really enriching to me. And for me personally, like I've activated a lot more codes in myself in the last couple of months than I feel that I've had the desire to in a few years. So I've practiced DJing. I'm DJing at a festival and I'm DJing at these different things, and it's just so exciting. And like, do I need to like change my entire identity as this thing or that thing? It's like maybe not. Like we'll see. But it's a path to explore. I'm playing in a band. I'm in this cover band. I'm playing music. I'm doing all these different things. These codes have already been inside me. You know, I'm a 4th generation sound healer. I teach sound baths and sound healing, and I train sound healers. Sound is inside me, but now it's just a different expression, a different exploration of that, a different layer of that exploration. And so like, we'll see. Maybe I'll produce some music. Like, let's see. Maybe I'll collaborate. Like, let's see. I don't know. Like, and I'm not going to be disappointed if like I'm making these connections that it's like, oh, I said that, and so it's here. So, you know, I guess I have to act upon it. I'm not going to be sad about it. I'm not going to be angry or scared or anything. I'm not going to feel like resistance towards it. It's like, yeah, welcoming in these codes to manifest in a different way beyond what your mind can conceive, right? Like your mind can only conceive like very small ideas, to be honest. And then like big things happen and then your body freaks out. It's like, no, like let these big things happen and see how you can step up to that, how your energetic body can step up to that. Okay. So friends, I hope that you're feeling these codes already. I know that you are, but I hope that you're being intentional about paying attention to them. So first things first, like if you find that there is something here that you're like, okay, that's been calling to me, and maybe I'll explore that and do it in the cheapest way possible. It's not always about like spending money and like losing your time and wasting time and all these kinds of things, because momentum builds more momentum, and eventually it just leads you to arriving. You know, you're just like arrived at the space where you never envisioned, or you never thought, or you never like manifested, or you didn't think you were manifesting. It just happens, right? But it doesn't just happen if you don't start acting upon the earlier stages, which is right now. So these codes that are downloading, you say, all right, what are the little things that I can do? How can I activate these things in a way that is going to allow this to be as epic as I know they can be? All right. So friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you are not already subscribed, definitely subscribe. What are you doing? And share this episode with your friends and ask your friends what their codes are. What codes are they downloading? And tell them what your codes are too. Because I was speaking my codes. I was like, oh yeah, DJing and then this and that. And I'm going to play and then festival and this thing, that thing. Like things just happen. And I'm writing my next book all about rhythms and flows and moon cycles and managing your energy in that way. It's just speaking things out has so much power. So try to see if you can do that with your friends as well. Okay. So remember, the world is your playground. And until next time, I will catch you soon.